This is The Law Show on CL 650. Now back to the show.
On this side of the law, on that side of the law. Who is right, who is wrong, who is for and who's against the law?
The side of the law. From the man in black who's had more than a few brushes with the law in his career. Some Johnny Cash music here for your Sunday morning on CL 650 and The Law Show. Joe Murphy, QC, and Derek Ma from Murphy Batista, LLP, Vancouver personal injury lawyers in studio today on The Law Show. We're talking soft tissue injuries. Derek Ma, an interesting lawyer because he brings to the profession years of background in physiotherapy, which in the personal injury law category, Derek, is worth its weight in gold on most days, I'm sure.
I hope so.
But just in terms of experience and understanding what people who come and sit down to you all kind of twisted up and obvious pain and discomfort, you're able to go, oh, you have this and you have that. And they go, how'd you know that?
And quite often something you hear, Sterling, is someone says, you know, the pain was all on my right side to start with, but now I feel like it's on my left side too, and I think I'm going a little bit crazy. Is it just me? And in most cases, they're overcompensating on their strong side, and because of that, they start to experience new pain. So knowing things like that and explaining that to clients, they start to feel a little bit better about themselves because they start to question themselves at some point.
And I'm thinking, too, that, you know, if you try to do that compensating, then you are creating more problems than you already began with, right?
That's correct.
And so medical advice, I mean, you're not dispensing medical advice, but somewhere along the way, as your former physiotherapy self is going to say, gee, you know, perhaps you should try this.
Yeah, absolutely. And all I always tell my clients, too, is you have about a 2-year window, maybe 3 years. So what I mean by that is most doctors and most therapists will tell you if you're not better within 2 or 3 years after an accident, you're probably not going to be any better than what you are at that point.
Right.
The recovery only happens in that first 2 or 3 years. So it's important at that point to make sure that you get in and get treatment early because you don't want that 2-year, 3-year window to close on you. At some point, your body gets used to being in pain.
Exactly.
And you become the chronic pain patient. Mm-hmm. And then what I talk about with my clients is there's a chronic pain cycle, which that means you're in pain. You have pain all the time. You become depressed. It's very easy to fall into depression with that. The depression magnifies the pain, which then causes you to be in more pain, causes you to be more depressed. As part of that as well is a fatigue element, which is when you're in pain and you're depressed, you don't sleep very well.
Sure.
And that all feeds into this chronic pain cycle.
So it's a real downward spiral.
Oh, it absolutely is. So it's about helping, you know, as lawyers, we can help target the right therapies for people and say, have you thought about counseling? Mm-hmm. You know, that may be something you want to think about. And I remember a client I had, he was a dentist, a retired dentist, and he was very, you know, I'm not doing counseling. I can't see how I can make my claim better. And finally he did it, and he came in and he saw me and he said, you know what? I thought you were crazy when you said that to me, but that was the best thing you ever told me to do. And he had a lot of benefit of it. Didn't take his pain away.
Right.
But it certainly made everything better.
It helped him to understand. Yes. Information, knowledge is power. It's an old cliche,
absolutely.
Joe, but it's absolutely true. Wanted to ask you about, because Derek's talking about some of these cases, that, and you were saying, you know, be symptom-free before you are feel comfortable about accepting a settlement. Well, what if that's, given that we have this 2-year window in order to statute of limitations. I know I'm using an American term, but what happens if you're still banged up and it's a year and a half and you can see the deadline approaching? It's not getting any better. You haven't accepted any money from anybody, but you're still not better. So when then do you go, okay, enough already? Let's call in the troops here.
Sterling, in those cases where the recovery is going to extend beyond the 2 years, we start the lawsuit within the 2 years. Starting the lawsuit doesn't mean that a case is going to go to court. It just means that there's a formal claim that's been filed in the court. In soft tissue cases in our office, I'm guessing maybe 1 in 30 actually goes to trial. So the fact that we've started a lawsuit doesn't mean that it's going to court. It just means that it's going to continue on beyond that 2-year window.
So the key is to get the wheels turning, Derek, before the expiry date on that 2-year term, and then it can carry on indefinitely. Is that once you've begun the process, then it will sort of follow its own path?
That's correct. Then your right to get compensation doesn't expire anymore at that point.
Okay. Need to take a quick break here. When we come back, I want to talk about the other aspect of personal injury and soft tissue injury that we haven't got anywhere near yet, that's kind of popular with the public. Myth or reality? We're talking fraud. And we'll be discussing that when we return after this quick timeout.
There's more of the show still ahead. This is The Law Show on CL 650.